That's funny, dude. Look at that fish. God dang, look at that fish. Dude, I can fit my hand in it. That's big. All right. Get a weight on it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Tackle Tip Tuesday. This Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about drop shot fishing. And not just drop shot fishing in general throughout the whole year, but drop shot more specifically in the pre-spawn. But before I get to all that, I want to introduce myself to you guys. My name is Zach Pluger. I'm the owner of Live Fast Movement Outdoors, which is YouTube's name, but it's also a guide service. I guide on Clear Lake, the Cal Delta, and Lake Berryessa. So if you guys are looking to book a trip in any of those locations, feel free to hit me up. Or if you want to book a trip on some of the motherlode lakes, I know a lot of different people that guide, and I can definitely give you guys recommendations on who to book. So hit me up either way, and I mean we can get you out there either way. So let's roll into this video. So this week, like I said, I'm talking about drop shot fishing, right? Little worms thrown around. I like throwing the big swim baits, preferably, especially right now where we're at right now in the wintertime, through about June is when I throw them. But in that pre-spawn time frame, come March, April, May, usually I'll start kind of putting down the swim bait here and there and picking up what some people call the old fairy wand, right? The small like spinning equipment and stuff like that, and catching some really big fish doing it. And so the reason I'm talking about drop shotting in the pre-spawn and not just drop shotting in general is because there's like little windows throughout the year that you can catch like giant fish, a 6-incher to a 15-pounder on a drop shot. And one of those major windows is coming up very soon, the pre-spawn. This time period it's absolutely insane. It's just, fish are up spawning, doing their thing, and people are catching them off beds and stuff like that, which is cool and all. But you can catch your biggest fish in your lake this time of year because they have to go up and spawn. They always do, right? And so a lot of times they won't take a shot on the bigger lures, a jig or whatever, a swim bait. Sometimes it won't take a shot. Even if it's like a giant fish that can easily eat a 10-inch hud, they'd rather eat a little worm for some reason. But this time of year, it's just a great time of year that I think a lot of people don't give the drop shot its due diligence. So that's basically what I want to try to bring to light for some of you guys. Yeah, some people are stingy about a drop shot. They're like, oh, it catches fish all the time and all that stuff, right? But it does, but it'll also catch you giant fish this time of year. So you might as well pick it up and learn how to do it and, do it right. Because I see a lot of guys doing it wrong, which is hard to do wrong, but a lot of guys, I've seen some people do it, but it's okay. So let's get into it. First things first, let's talk about kind of the areas I'm targeting. Like I said before, these are spawning areas. So bass are moving up. You got males moving up first. And usually what most people do, they'll just roll right into a spawning area, go right to the back, and they'll start looking for beds, right? Which, fine and dandy, you'll find some male bass up there, cool. But what I do is I work my way in, slowly and methodically. I'm gonna start at a main lake point. I'm gonna fish that drop shot out there. Right on the point too, not on the edges of it, mostly right on the tip of it, sometimes kind of on the inner edge as you're kind of going in. But most of the time, it doesn't take long. You just throw it out on that point and just let it sit. I don't work it freaking crazy back to the boat, which, yeah, you might be able to get bit doing that, but a lot of times just letting the water movement do it for you gets you bigger bites. A lot of guys will tell you that, especially guys who drop shot on the East Coast and South and stuff like that. In the West Coast here, man, I came out here, I'd be seeing guys working it like a freaking fluke or a jerkbait back to the boat. And they're reeling it. I'm like, okay, cool. You gotta let it sink to bottom, in my opinion, right? There's no absolutes to fishing. It gets bit that way. Obviously, that's why they're doing it. But what I'm saying is that the best way to catch those bigger ones is to just throw it out there, let it sit, soak it. And I mean, when I say like, when you do shake it, I mean very subtly, because most of the time, you don't even have to do anything. That water's moving your worm like that under there. And all you're doing is like letting it sit there, letting the water do its thing, and you're dragging it back just a little bit. And you're letting it sit there again, and the water's doing its thing. And that thing will draw fish, especially if you're fishing the right color, which I'll get to later. But that worm just doing its thing down there, 6 inches off the bottom, because you got your weight down here, and it's 6 inches to a foot off the bottom, just doing this. It'll draw them. It'll draw those big ones on those points and draw them over and take a shot. Now, getting back to kind of where I'm fishing these, right? So I start the main lake point. I work my way in. Secondary points. Any kind of cover that I can find, a tree, a bush, a boat. I mean, it doesn't matter. If there's some kind of cover on one of these points, I make sure that I fish that. And I make sure that you take kind of a swim bait mindset approach where you kind of come in real quiet, you try not to make any noise, you try not to run your trolling motor, make a long cast if you can, and then get it right on that and just let it sit. And that's how you'll get an absolute giant. I'm not even messing with you guys. You guys got to be quiet, and especially this time of year when they're very on edge, because these big fish don't like being up shallow, especially these keeners that they come from like 40, 60 foot, and they don't like being shallow. They know they're freaking in danger, right? So you guys gotta be quiet. And you make those long casts on these points, working back, and then you guys will pick up a giant. But then, so like let's say we're moving on, right? It's getting a little bit warmer. There's more and more males up shallow, and they're all making beds, fanning and all that stuff. You start seeing females even up shallow, right? Those 5-6 pounders that everybody loves to go up and catch, which are big fish, don't get me wrong, but most people are looking for bigger ones, right? And they're looking for that 10 pounder. They're looking for that 12 pounder. Not saying I've caught them yet. I've seen them and I've had some shots and I'm freaking kicking myself for it still. But I've caught a lot of 7s and 8s doing this stuff that I'm going to be telling you guys. So, but once that happens, once there's 5s, maybe 6 pounders swimming up shallow, you'll see them every once in a while. That's when we'll move up shallow with them, and I'll be kind of around the bedding fish, the bedding males. But I'll move off a little bit and I'll find right where the visibility ends, right where I can't see the bottom anymore, right where the fish can't quite see me either. Like, I'm sure they can, but we can't see each other anymore, right? And I'm gonna fish that depth, and I'm gonna try and find any kind of cover at that depth, and I'm gonna throw that drop shot right next to it, and I'm just gonna let it sit. And next thing you know, you'll just be like, thump, and it'll just be swimming for deep water, because that's what they do. You'll get bit, and it'll go right for deep water. And you guys, I'll actually throw in a clip right here of I don't know how big it was, but this spring I lost a giant on Berryessa, and yeah, just watch. So you guys saw that clip. That was nuts. I knew it was big right when I hooked it, and it took me for a freaking ride. Unfortunately, I didn't get that fish in. It got me wrapped in all kinds of buck brush and broke me off, but I mean, what can you do, right? So now that I've talked about a little bit about where I throw these, let's kind of go into what I throw, right? Like the worm, let's go with that. I like Roboworms. There's a lot of other worms on the market, trick worms, all kinds of worms, right? I like Roboworm. Preferably this Morning Dawn color in the spring. Morning Dawn is a fantastic color, no matter what fishery. I'm not talking just the lakes here, guys. I'm talking about the Delta as well. But Morning Dawn, great color. It's like a pinkish color. It's a great color all year round on Berryessa, but this is one of my favorite colors this time of year. And this is also the 6-inch straight tail. I actually like the fat straight tail as well, the 6-inch fat straight tail. Majority of the time, I will be throwing the fat ones. It really doesn't matter too much whether it's the straight tail or the fat tail in my opinion, but some people may think there's a difference, but I don't. This color right here, I like on the Delta more, but it works good on the lakes as well. This is the 6-inch fat straight tail and Margarita Mutilator. This is a great color. It's like a purple brown. These two colors, you'll get a big one on it. A lot of guys throw it though, right? A lot. So the fish see it. What I like to do that is kind of a secret, which I don't know where they went. Here they are. It's a secret of mine that I like throwing. Well, it's not like necessarily a secret, I guess, because you know, in Texas and the East Coast, some guys call it the methaliate, whatever, the orange worm theory, where you're just throwing a worm and you're like kind of working it around, and the fish will come out of nowhere during the spawn and just eat it. It's kind of the same concept, except it's not an orange worm and it's actually red. But this color for some reason gets crazy bit during the pre-spawn and spawn from crazy distances. I'm talking, I'm gonna throw in a clip here. I saw a fish up shallow about 30 yards away, and I was like, oh, she ain't gonna turn around. So I just flipped, and I'm fishing this little spawning area where they can move up pretty easily. I just flipped in there, and I'm still 20 yards away from this fish, right? It hits the water, it goes all the way to bottom, and it's just shaking, and I see her turn. She turns around, just because I don't know why she turned around, but she was just turning around looking at things. And she sees my worm, she like stops, you can see her fins flare, and she just speeds and smokes this thing. And I was like, what? Like, that's nuts.
Got her. Good too. Liners are good. Oh, look at you. That's a 5. If I've ever seen one. Saw her cruising, and I was just like, I'll throw this drop shot over here. Left it there, she kind of swam over to it, couldn't see her, and all of a sudden it was like, tink, there she was. Perfect, right in the roof of the mouth, hook fell out. Beautiful pre-spawn bass.
So ever since then, I'm a big believer in this red worm in this time of year. And this is actually the 7-inch, just because when I do get bit on this, it's usually a big one for some reason, right? So I just stuck with the 7-inch. I'm not saying you can't go with the smaller ones, but that's the ones I go with, right? So that's color. Let's go with hook, right? So when I'm throwing the drop shot, I'm doing 2 different hooks most of the time. I would say majority of the time is gonna be this little VMC. Let's see if I can actually show it to you guys so you guys can see. It's a little VMC hook, and that's a size 2. It's their VMC Spinshot hook. Now, I like that one because you can tie, I have them pre-tied. I'll just have like a little, I'll put them in a little box, I'll tie the weight on there, or the what am I trying to say? The leader, sorry, the leader to the weight, tie on the bottom end of that spin shot, and I'll just throw them in a box, especially if I know I'm gonna be doing that a lot that day. I'll have like, 7 or 8 of them tied up, and then I'll just all I have to do is tie it to the main line when I get out in the water and go fish, right? So that's the main reason I like doing it. The other reason is line twists. I like those VMC spin shots because a lot of guys who drop shot a lot, they know that worm, you're reeling it back to the boat, it's going like this, and your line gets spun up. So those VMC spin shots, it doesn't spin up your line. So that's, saves you guys money and all kinds of stuff. The other one, which I usually throw this one if I'm out of the VMC ones. So it's kind of just a backup, is going to be an owner. This is just a, actually let me see really quick. It's the owner, owner Mosquito. Owner Mosquito number 2. I couldn't remember the word for it. Pull it up here so you guys can see a little better, hopefully. Oh, maybe not. Owner Mosquito number 2. That's a great hook for drop shot as well, but like I said before, you guys aren't gonna, you're not gonna alleviate that spinning of your line and getting all twisted up, those line twists, right? For weights, I got 2 different weights for you guys here. The first one, which is what I throw majority of the time, as well as when I'm fishing grass. So like the delta and different like grass that's starting to grow up in those spawning areas, is this little 1/4 ounce cylindrical weight. So I like the little 1/4 ounce cylindrical weight in that grass because it just comes through really well. It doesn't get caught up on as much, and it fishes really well in grass, so I like it. I like the 1/4 ounce when I'm fishing up shallow, which is majority of what you're going to be doing this time of year. But let's say you come off a point and you want to fish. Let's say you find these really big pre-spawn fish in 40 foot off the end of a point outside a spawning pocket. That's when I'll go to a 3/8 ounce drop shot weight, just till I can get down there faster. I'm not waiting for my freaking drop shot to get down there forever. So I go to that 3/8 ounce just to get down there quicker to them. So that's that weight. Now, if I'm gonna be fishing around a lot of really chunky rock, which majority of the time, not gonna say all the time, I guess, yeah, like dams and stuff, I'll fish it. Like if you guys ever fish Rancho Seco, a lot of the big fish like to spawn on the dam there. There's really big chunk rock, and I'll throw a drop shot up there, but I'll throw a round weight. And what that round weight does, it's like a football head. Fishing a football head around rocks. It just keeps you from getting stuck in the rocks. It'll get hung up still, but it's easier to get back, if that makes any sense. You're not gonna be breaking off weights left and right. So that's the main reason I do that. And I usually just throw the little 1/4 ounce size in that. That might not be a 1/4 ounce, I think it's a little bit bigger, but that's kind of the weights I throw for this technique. Now, I talked about weights, talked about hooks, and we talked about worms. Let's talk about equipment. We're gonna talk about rod and reel. So I really like this setup right here. It's higher end, and with anything I've talked about in other videos, I've talked about in jig fishing, with equipment or with techniques that I'm really like just dragging bottom and fishing slow, I like to have equipment that's very sensitive. A rod that's very sensitive and a reel that's very, very well built. Mainly because these techniques, you gotta feel the bite. And so if you're fishing a rod that's not a great rod for sensitivity, you're not gonna feel a bite and you're gonna miss fish. So that's why I recommend these higher end setups. Not saying that you can't get by with like a Dobbins Colt series, because I have one right there. I don't like using it for drop shots as much. I actually use it for like little spoons and stuff, but every once in a while I might set it up and give it a try, but you'll still feel bites, you just won't feel them as well. That's why I'm gonna recommend this one. But this is an Orochi XX, and this is actually their shaky head rod, but I like the WhipSnake or the shaky head. The shaky head one's good, but the WhipSnake is their actual drop shot rod. It's a 610, and this one's actually a 7 foot. They're both medium heavy, fast actions. And then this is actually just a Shimano Stradic Ci4 on here, a 2500 series reel. And line size, so with the line this time of year, you can go really light. You can go to the 6 pound test like what a lot of people do when they drop shot, right? I don't like to do that. I like to actually upsize my line around the pre-spawn for drop shot fishing. I like doing it on 10, 12. I very rarely go on 15 unless I'm around like really thick cover, but I will. It's basically gonna be like power shotting at that point. But I do that just so, mainly for abrasion and stuff, because like the heavier pound line, I like fluorocarbon, and when a fluorocarbon gets any kind of nick in it, especially the light stuff, it's gonna break. So fluorocarbon, yeah, it's not the greatest when it's getting nicked and all kinds of stuff, but when you get those heavier line classes, it'll at least be able to hold up a little bit more than the 6-pound test, right? So this is actually what I would be doing. I'd be putting 12-pound on here to a braid leader, probably 12-pound to a 20-pound braid leader, high-vis braid. Just in case I don't feel the bite, the braid should be able to give me an indication that I can see it as well. So that's gonna be Pline, leader line, as well as their braid. So I'll be linking all that below in the description as well. So that's basically it, guys. Don't underestimate the drop shot in the pre-spawn, because like I said, you can catch some really, really big fish in the pre-spawn with the drop shot. Not saying, you know, these big swim baits, the HUD, just reeling it up shallow and get bit, because it will. And I do it. But the drop shot helps you, like give you guys a scenario here. I'm going down the bank. I'm yeeting a big old freaking glide bait, right? Fishing it up shallow, trying to get one of those big ones to come off a piece of cover and take a shot at this thing, right? Let's say I get a follower. Big follower comes up on the glide bait. I see where she comes from. It's a piece of cover, right? Cool. Keep moving down the bank. Fish the whole area. Every time I see a piece of cover now, I'm gonna flip that drop shot at it and just let it sit there for a second just to see. And if, you know, maybe I catch one, maybe I don't. I'm gonna roll back around to where I saw that big one on that piece of cover. I'm gonna pick up that drop shot, I'm gonna flip it in there and just let it sit. And like clockwork, I'm telling you guys, you can almost call it, that fish will probably bite it. Just, they're territorial, they don't like crap around where they're gonna spawn. They're chasing off all this crap all day. They're chasing off bluegills, other bass, everything, right? So they don't like other fish this time of year. That's the main reason, I think, why they'll eat a freaking drop shot. And they chase a lot of different stuff this time of year, but just understand that as the temperament of the bass. Like, they're territorial. It's not so much that they're feeding. So that's why I think the drop shot's a fantastic way to catch them this time of year. But all right, guys, this video is getting super long. Once again, check out my website, www.livefastmovementoutdoors. You guys can check me out on Instagram at livefastmovement. I'm gonna be getting my boat back soon, I hope so. I'm gonna be getting back out there for some late winter fishing as well as getting into that early spring. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this one, click that thumbs up button. Drop a comment below if you care to. I mean, negative, I don't care. It'd be awesome to just get some comments down there. I really appreciate it. And then subscribe, you know, if you guys want to see more of these videos. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.